DDSN works with providers across South Carolina to ensure that those with spinal cord injuries have access to services they need. We spoke to individuals with spinal cord injuries who have benefited from our resources. Wendell Manigault Jr. is a victim of gun violence and a spinal cord injury survivor. He now lives life as a quadriplegic. This is his story.
Back in February the 11th of 2002, I became a victim of gun violence at the age of 16. One evening, as I was sitting on this trunk that was placed at the foot of my bed trying to make a phone call, I looked back and saw my partner who was sitting behind me at the head of the bed with his gun in hand. The moment I saw that, I immediately told him at least 2 or 3 times. I said, "Hey bro, put the pistol up in the house. Quit playing with the pistol." But he looked at me and never said anything. Being that this was a friend of mine, I thought nothing of it and proceeded to make the call that I was trying to make. In the process of proceeding with that call, my head began to hurt and my body temperature began to increase. So I stood up from where I was sitting, took the hoodie that I had on off, then proceeded to turn and toss it on a nearby bed that was placed to the left of me. In the process of making that turn, all I saw was flames come from the barrel of the gun, and by that time, I had been hit.
Wendell reflected on the confusion he felt immediately after being shot.
When I got shot, I blacked out for at least 10 to 15 seconds. But as I began to regain consciousness, I noticed that I was lying with my head propped up on the frame of the door. And as I began to observe my surroundings, I noticed that there was a firearm placed by my feet and another firearm placed on one of the nearby beds that was to the right of me. The more I observed my surroundings, I noticed that the gentleman who shot me was standing over me with his gun in hand, saying repeatedly that he didn't mean to do it. However, in that moment at that time, I didn't know what was going on. I knew I couldn't move, but I didn't know that I was paralyzed. So it was just, everything happened so fast. I couldn't really, process what was really going on at that time.
After being shot, Wendell was rushed to the hospital.
I didn't know I was paralyzed until the following day when the doctor came into the room. And he said, I have some good news and some bad news for you. Nod your head to which one you want to hear first. And when he broke the news to me and told me that I was paralyzed, and then he told me how I became paralyzed, for me, it went through one ear and not the other. I still didn't process it at that time.
He discussed how his injury dramatically impacted his family.
That was a major adjustment for a lot of my loved ones and peers. My elder sibling, my sister, she took it very hard. There were times during the beginning stages of my injury where she would walk past my room and, not speak to me at all. And I couldn't understand why. Until my mother, she pretty much sat me down and she had a talk with me and said, listen, she's taking it hard. She's taking it hard. And she was the one who was there, when the incident occurred. So for her, man, even till this day, she still struggles with it. But she's trying her best to, pretty much accept it and, move forward. But as for anybody else, some people, they've accepted it. They come around and they show their support, and others, it's still hard for them to accept.
He talked about the support he received post-injury.
Prior to leaving the hospital, I had great case managers that pretty much provided me with the resources that I need in terms of the home health agencies that deal with pharmaceutical, medical supplies and equipment. So, like I said, prior to leaving the hospital, the staff members at Roper St. Francis Hospital in downtown Charleston, they made sure that my family was squared away with the services and the resources that we need. I'm still with Husky right now as we speak. I've been with them for 22 years now. Great, company to be with. It's a big help, not only for myself, but for my loved ones. For instance, the home health care that I get, it gives my mother the opportunity to go out and work during the day while, I have an aide that sits with me from 8 to 4, Monday through really 7 days a week. I have aides coming out. And also with the medical equipment and supplies that I get, that helps out a lot, considering that we don't have it, we're not in a position financially to, purchase, the equipment and supplies, and with the cost of things nowadays, man, it's a big help.
Wendell described the biggest challenge he has faced as a spinal cord injury survivor.
The biggest challenge for me is just pretty much, persevering, through this journey called life, in spite of the hardships and long sufferings that we may endure along the way, and just keeping our sanity.
Despite his injury, Wendell pursued new dreams and set new goals.
I went from speaking in churches to speaking at local community events. We just had a community event on July the 20th in Hollywood, South Carolina at Baptist Hill High School, a Boys to Men conference that was hosted by Butch and Lisa Raheem Kennedy, which was a great, impactful event that I believe left a mark on the minds of not only the youth, but their parents as well. And also, back in 2019, my mother and we became authors for the first time. The title of my mother's book is The Seed of My Womb, which is written by Paulette M. Vanderhorst. The title of my two books is If It Had Not Been for the Lord, which is my autobiography. In that book, I speak about life before my injury and life after my injury. I also speak about how I got injured in full details, and at the end of the book, I wrote messages for the parents and for the youth. And that book, If It Had Not Been for the Lord, coincides with my mother book, The Seed of My Womb, which in her book, she recorded day-to-day events from the day I got injured up until the day that she stopped writing, from her perspective. And the third book is Pericarditis, The Unsolved Mystery.
Wendell urged those who are uninjured not to take the little things in life for granted.
We take, and hear me when I say this, we unintentionally take pretty much everything for granted. We don't sit and think, what muscle does it take to get this arm to move or to get this leg to move? We don't sit back and think like, hey, how am I able to blink my eyes? How am I able to wiggle my toes? How am I able to get up and again, walk around and be independent? We unintentionally take everything, every opportunity that we're ever blessed with for granted. Daily, I think about life prior to my injury. The opportunities that I had to, to work and to be able to get up and go as I please. Vacationing, things of that nature, riding a bike, the simpler things in life.
Wendell considered whether he saw himself as a success.
By the grace of God, my story is a success. I am a success. Life doesn't end. It's just a new life that's getting started. You're birthed into a new world. So it's the beginning of something new. Unfortunately, it's under those circumstances, but it's a new chapter in your life.